New information in the IRS targeting scandal. Remember that? According to a new article by Bob Cusack for TheHill.com, Bob, a frequent guest on this program, the Obama administration is refusing to release more than 500 documents on the agency's targeting of Tea Party and conservative groups. Quote, The Hill sought access to government documents that might provide a glimpse of the decision-making through a Freedom of Information Act request. The Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration opted not to release the documents covered by the request, citing various exemptions in the law. Let's talk about it with A.B. Stoddard, managing editor and columnist for The Hill, and Guy Benson, political editor of townhall.com, also a Fox News contributor. A.B., one of those exemptions that the Inspector General is citing is the fact that these are personal communications. Now, how can government emails become personal communications, therefore exempted from a Freedom of Information Act request?
I really have no idea. I think everyone knows who's gone to work in the age of the internet that you conduct your personal business on your personal email, and that still might be discovered in any kind of review if there was something that your superiors were hunting for, particularly if you work for the government. The other exemptions were about consideration of possible prosecution of Lois Lerner, and that some law enforcement proceedings. And so, since we've seen no news of this forthcoming, no one is talking about her. Although her contempt citation is under court review, no one's talking about her being prosecuted. So, you can have it one of two ways. She's either protected by potential legal proceedings, or her emails need to be turned over. So it's an interesting series of excuses that the IG delivered.
Guy, the president famously said he was outraged to hear about this targeting of conservative groups. Where is that outrage these days?
Well, the outrage is long since past, John, and now it's a phony scandal. And taking a step back, remember, this is a president who promised the first week of his administration, 2009, that transparency would be a touchstone of his administration. Then in 2013, he admonished graduates at Ohio State University, don't be cynical about the government. In the State of the Union address we saw just a few weeks ago, he yearned for a better politics. But here we have his administration repeatedly stonewalling and stymieing and impeding investigations into a host of scandals, including the IRS matter, in which you had the executive branch of the federal government actively targeting and harassing the political opponents of the president. And now the administration continues. They've apparently decided just waiting this thing out is the best way to go because people will lose interest. That is the definition of cynicism.
There are some interesting, interesting information, A.B., to be pulled from the dates on what emails we do have coming all of this. What can you tell us about that?
Well, as you know, my editor-in-chief's FOIA request, which was submitted in the fall, was dragged out, and they asked for an appeal, and then they still turned up nothing. But if you read the piece, you can see that the Inspector General of the Treasury Department was aware and made the IRS commissioner aware in May of 2012 of the targeting and the criteria that was being used for the targeting. The IRS commissioner had just testified to Congress that March that there was no targeting, and he did not readjust or fix his testimony following this revelation. So there was internal acknowledgement of this long before the election took place. Of course, we only learned about it afterwards. But there's been protection of this scandal since the beginning, and ever since Congress has failed to obtain the necessary information. There was recently an email dump from the Treasury Inspector General about these emails just this last week, but no one has come up with anything relevant at this point. There was also the same type of document dump in the Benghazi investigation in the last 2 weeks. No one has come up with anything relevant from there either. So they continue to ask for all emails to and from Lois Lerner from the relevant parties, and they have not received the information they've been asking for now for almost 2 years.
So, Guy, they were targeting after they denied targeting. And on top of that, the president is asking for more money to give the IRS more power. What are the American people to think?
You got me, John. I mean, it's been a very frustrating thing to watch. The IRS and its new commissioner have been complaining about their lack of funding now. We saw in the news just last week that the IRS rehired hundreds of people who were fired for cause, including active tax evasion. I mean, this is bureaucracy run amok. Used and weaponized in some cases against hardworking taxpayers and the American people. One other quick thing on this particular report from Bob that I thought was interesting. The way I read his story was that this request covered 512 specific correspondences and emails, all of which, 512 of which, were denied for various reasons, including, as AB said, the possibility of prosecution, which is, as of right now, non-existent. We have no indication whatsoever that that's coming. And I would just point out that about a year ago, maybe perhaps forgotten element of this scandal, the woman at DOJ who was put in charge of the criminal investigation into this just happened to be a heavy donor to the DNC and Barack Obama over the last few cycles. Barbara Bosserman is her name. That story just seems to have slipped away because, you know, our attention span only goes so far, and that is exactly what this administration has been counting on in scandal after scandal.
We know you'll stay on it at townhall.com. Also at The Hill, Guy Benson, A.B. Stoddard, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.